Okay, so let's take a look at what you're going to get when you get your sharpener and what screw goes where. And we'll also talk about if you have an older version, you bought a newer body kit on it because maybe something happened to the one that you own. All right, so we'll start out by, you're going to get these two M4 screws. They're going to be a little longer. Sometimes one of these is slightly shorter than the other, but the newer kit should have two of them the same size. And you'll find a lock washer and a flat washer for that. You're going to find these shorter M4 screws, and then you're also going to get some M3 screws, and one of these is going to be left-hand turn and one is right-hand turn. The longer one is right-hand turn, and it's going to go right here, and the shorter one is a left-hand turn, and that goes right on the end for the side grinding wheel. So we'll show you that in just a moment. So these shorter screws are for securing these wheels on here like so. Now these wheels are designed as such that some of them you might have to turn upside down to fit them on there. Some you'll turn them like this. And if they catch on here and they don't want to slide onto these studs, there could be, once in a great while, there'll be a little bit of epoxy on there, and you can just scrape that off with the knife, generally pretty easy, and then slide right on there. So we'll go ahead and attach this one. I'm just going to use this driver because it's a little easier. Sorry if it goes out of focus because it's a little longer. That's all it takes. Now, the next one you put on in order to fit, you might have to put on like this. Now, for the ultra thin wheel, this is a 3mm hole. You're going to use the 3mm, and it'll have a lock washer and this fender washer. It just slides through here, and then it will screw onto that hole. It's as simple as that. Now, for putting anything onto the side grinding wheel area here, we'll just put this on here, and then remember this is going to be a left-hand turn, so you're going to turn it the opposite way. Actually, let me grab the left-hand screw. It's going to turn the opposite way. So there you go. And the way I do this is I will put my fingers on this wheel and make sure this is always unplugged before you put your finger on this wheel. And then you can tighten it up. Once it gets a little tight, then you can hold on to the wheel itself and finish torquing it down. Don't over torque these. If you torque this too much, you can always break this off inside of the wheel, and that's not optimal. For the side table that goes on here, we'll be using these two longer screws. And yours might look a little different. Some models have a little bit different setup on them, but it's going to be the same thing. So those are going to screw in there like so. I generally kind of shake the washers down a little bit, and you can place it on here. Tighten that on. And then you can tighten that on, and then there is everything all set up. That's as simple as it is. That's how everything works. So, all right, let's talk about replacing this grinding wheel, or if you bought a new kit and this looks a little different than the old model, who may not have had this slot in here or just looks different. So we'll disassemble this, and also over time we ended up making these wheels a little bit larger, and originally the smaller wheels didn't require you to remove this wheel, but because we make these wheels larger, you'll have to take this out to slide this off. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so this is going to go the other way around. Since this is a righty-loosey, we'll take this off. And in order to remove this face, to change this wheel, there are 4 screws in here. And this gives access to the belt. And you'll need to know this too if you want to replace the belt. So you can just loosen these up. They don't have to come fully out. It doesn't make a difference if you have them fully out, but sometimes you want to knock it a little bit, and that loosens that up. You'll see you'll get access to the belt in here now, as well as the motor. I'm now going to loosen these screws. And sometimes these screws actually will settle just a little bit. So after you get your sharpener, you can sometimes further tighten these up a little bit. So this is actually kind of a separate piece right here. That's a bearing retaining piece. And you'll just need to kind of wiggle that to pull that out. It's got a little bit of a stud there to guide it. Some of the newer versions don't have the stud on here and don't have this stud on here, but they're just threaded on the inside. So yours might look a little different. When you go to put it back on, it's just like that. All right, so let's get these lower screws undone. And just one more to go here. Let's see if we got these all the way unthreaded. And where it says pull, well, just pull. And we'll find out if we got everything all undone. There we go. So that all came out. Most of the time, those screws will stay kept in there. So you can see the wheel here. So what I like to do is I will pinch that belt and then rotate this out. That way it holds onto the belt. So when you go to put maybe another grinding wheel in here, you can loop it underneath there, and then it puts the tension right back on it just the way that you need it. Then we're just going to take the face of this. We're going to press this back on. And the reason we actually did away with like the stud version of it is because actually the bearings will guide it back on just fine. And then we'll just screw this back tight. And it looks like this kind of came off, which is fine. I'm going to take a screw right here. Screw that back in. We'll take this little bearing retainer apart. And we will screw that back on. This actually didn't need to come off for that process, but I took it off for the wheel. The reason I want to show you that is because this does have to come off if you want to replace that. So just so you know that ahead of time. We'll go ahead and put this back on. Oh, and I should point out that if this ever gets too much slack in it, or you need to check the belt for any reason, you open this up. If you have to actually put some more tension on this because of replacing a belt, these are Loctited on, so it will take a little bit of strength to get those undone. Once that belt's looped on there, I just use my finger and put some light pressure on there and then screw these things back tight. And we'll swing this around. Tighten it all back up, and you are good to go. The left-hand nut, of course, is going to go in here, and that right-hand one goes on top. Again, all these M4s can go in here to hold the wheels. Everything should fit. I know once in a great while I'll get somebody said they can't figure out how it fits, but everything should fit on there, and that's the whole thing. If you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully that all made sense.